The fog, a curtain of cloud that dampened every surface, every noise, and shrouded the silvery trees, was so absolute the mango sky had been completely erased. A raven cried. The murk swirled in intricate patterns as Azar's cloak drifted through it. The fog never cleared here in the land of Evermist, where vapor from the nearby geyser field wafted beneath the canopy of the eastern edge of the gray forest. Raven, perched on Azar's shoulder, swiveled his head from side to side, straining to see. The mist was alive. It roiled and churned, figures taking shape and then dissipating back into waves, haunted faces there and gone in a blink. Hithril, spirits of those who had been forgotten in the fog. "Are you afraid of the Fae?" Azar teased, when Raven shied from the figure of a bearded man that rolled back into the mist just as quickly as it had materialized. Raven made a rather pitiful noise in the back of his throat and hunkered low, shuffling closer to Azar's neck. Azar paused, skimming the foggy forest for a landmark. He was somewhere southeast of Delcoa, the second city, in the midst of the wild where packs of werebeasts and feral Amenites ran unrestrained. It was even rumored that Nydia wandered Evermist, although that had yet to be proven. The presence of a Nydia clan could rarely be confirmed, as witnesses almost never survived to pass the warning on. Civilization was sparse out here, although one Kalos preferred to live secluded in the fog, away from the constant squabbles and petty wars of the cities. Azar needed to find her. He pressed onward. The trees were shadowy pillars, sentinels holding down the fog with their arms and claws arching overhead. There, ahead and to the right, a dark shape loomed in the mist. Azar's cautious stride lengthened with confidence as he altered his direction toward the dwelling. As he drew nearer, the smudge took shape. A ramshackle stone cottage, decrepit with age and neglect, was balanced hazardously on the mossy rocks. He might have thought, with its rotted shingles and grimy windows, that it was abandoned. But smoke trickled up from the chimney to meld with the fog. Azar paused just before the door. Already ajar, it creaked open with a single touch. The fog billowed behind Azar and rolled into the house, curling and whispering tendrils along the floor. He ducked beneath the doorframe and stood in the entryway, his gaze settling on a figure seated in a chair in the corner. She was an ancient Kalos, small and frail with pale skin and snow-white hair. Allegedly, she was nearly 1,000 years old. The marquise garnet, embedded in the middle of her lower brow, twinkled, but her eyes were closed. Her wrinkled body was draped with layers of gossamer fabric that shrouded her like the very mist surrounding her home. Azar had the brief thought that if too much fog trailed in through the open door, she might very well fade away into it forever and join the Hithril. He hesitated, debating whether he should wake her, but then her lips moved. "The warden's left his prison to wander where he should not. Tell me, Shadow Lord, have you found yet what you sought?" Her pale violet eyes opened to meet Azar's red ones. He closed the door. "I find your riddles and lyrics cumbersome, and only you can answer the question you just asked me." He tossed a drawstring pouch at her feet. She raised her chin from her chest at the sound of the heavy coins striking the floor. A claw-like hand emerged from the shawls. She bent forward so precariously, Azar feared she might fall from the chair, although he didn't move from his place by the door. I require your gift of foresight. Slowly, she straightened, her joints stiff from disuse and arthritis. Without waiting for her response, he continued. I need to know about the weapon in Project Alpha. The seer hooked one gnarled finger through the drawstring to loosen the pouch. Her hand quivered as she poured copper coins into her palm. Generous when it suits you, though ruthless you can be. But the question you've chosen is one I cannot see. No, the details you beseech are beyond my divinity's reach. The present is not in my gaze. Instead, I see through future's haze. Raven shifted nervously on his shoulder, but Azar kept his frustration in check. Very well. What does the future hold if this weapon is used? The seer's eyes glowed as she gazed through time. Triumph of the humans will be the destruction of us all. Their salvation will undo them, and both worlds will fall. What do I need to win the war? What is the key? Her knuckles popped as she curled her fingers over the copper. Purest of demons, child of beast, harbinger of light, blinded who sees. Blood of the enemy, sun without wings, slaves who will rise to one day be kings. 7 to bring the 7th, but 8 are the key. They must decide what the fate of the realms shall be. Azar stared at her for a long moment. What other 8 could have such a devastating influence over the outcome of the war? The Alpha Fugitives. The seer smiled her gap-toothed grin at him. Why ask questions of me when you already know what the answers will be? What do you mean by 7? Will I defeat the agents or not? A question you asked, an answer you sought. You should be satisfied, and yet you are not. Because your answer is a useless riddle, Azar snarled. I paid you for information, and you've given me next to nothing. Her hand, laden with copper, suddenly disappeared into her shawls. Such is the case, as you will see. Prophecies are worthless till they come to be. I remind you, Dark One, what you asked of me. Like it or not, the 8 are the key. The fate of the realms will lie in their hands. But I know not on which side they will stand. Raven squawked. Azar turned away and threw open the door. Thank you for your time, he snapped, feeling less than appreciative now that his head was spinning. She watched him in silence, offering neither acknowledgement nor farewell. Azar returned to the wall of fog, letting it absorb him while the Heathrill reached out, their cold hands passing through him.